यं हि न व्यथयन्त्येते पुरुषं पुरुषर्षभ समदुःखसुखं धीरं सोऽमृतत्वाय कल्पते यं हि न व्यथयन्त्येते पुरुषं पुरुषर्षभ समदुःखसुखं धीरं सोऽमृतत्वाय कल्पते. O chief among men, that firm man whom surely these afflict not, to whom pleasure and pain are same, is fitting for realizing immortality of the self. Calm endurance in both pleasure and pain is a condition necessary for right knowledge of the true self, according to the technique of self realization as explained in the Upanishadic lore. Based upon that fact, here Lord Krishna explains that one who has found in himself mental equipoise, wherein he is not afflicted or disturbed by the circumstances of pain and pleasure, alone is fit for attaining immortality. Mortality is the most dreadful of pains known to all living creatures. Instinctively, even the most courageous hero will feel unnerved when he is under the threat of unavoidable death. It is a challenging spectre that can throw a dreadful shadow of fear and sorrow across everyone's life. The one seeking perfection strives hard to transcend these realms of threat and fear. Naturally, in the early Upanishads, the supreme achievement has been indicated by the term immortality, meaning deathlessness, amritatvam. Although it may be interesting to note that in the later Upanishads the same has come to be indicated by the term birthlessness. When the transcendental truth or the eternal perfection has been indicated by the term immortality, it is not used in its limited sense of deathlessness of the body. Here, the term death not only indicates the destruction of the physical embodiment, but also includes and incorporates within its embrace of significance the entire range of finite experience, where in each one of them there is an extinction experience. No experience gained through either the body or the mind or the intellect is permanent. In other words, each experience is born to live with us for a short period and then to die away in us. These chains of finite experiences stretch out in front of us as the path of sorrow and pain in our life. The term immortality used by the rishis to indicate the supermanhood envisages how the individual ego walking the thorny path of finite sorrows gets itself transcended to the infinite experience of the eternal and the permanent. This topic of immortality is the very theme of the Vedic literature. But by the time of the Vyasa, the Hindu generation had come to believe that this divine god life can be achieved only through some special training fit only for some rare few to pursue. Through the Gita, our poet seer Vyasa is making Lord Krishna declare that the purpose of life for everyone is the attainment of perfection, and to evolve oneself to it, one must make use of every little chance in one's own allotted life, to train ourselves to endure meekly the little pinpricks of life and with magnanimous joy. Heat and cold, success and failure, pain and pleasure is itself the highest training that life can provide to all of us. Ordinarily, man gets himself overwhelmed by the little exasperations in his life, which are essentially life's very nature. Life being constituted of endless, ever changing schemes of things, each in itself finite. To waste our life complaining against, brooding over, and despairing for the happenings around us is to shamelessly lay waste our life. Endure them calmly, is the advice given in the previous stanza. The commercial outlook in the ordinary man will not easily accept a scriptural injunction unless it explains the practical benefit that might accrue to him by this obedience of the law. This stanza is dedicated to an explanation of the practical benefits of living life with true understanding. An incompetent idler's hapless endurance in life is not in itself what is indicated here. It is especially said that the equipoise of the mind in both pleasure and sorrow, entrained by a wise man, Dhira, makes him fit for the highest cultural self development. That is to say, the equanimity should not flow out from the dark caves of one's stupidity and inertia, but must gargle out from the open sunny fields of one's own wisdom and understanding. When one understands the essential nature of the objects of the world to be finite, out of that realizes knowledge, one gains enough balance for calm endurance. Then he would not feel exalted in pleasure or dejected in pain. So long as we live in this body as the body, he will not be able to ignore or calmly endure sorrows of the body. But when we are fired by a sentiment of love or hatred, we invariably make ready sacrifices of the bodily pleasures. In my love for my son, I am ready to make any sacrifice of my physical needs so that I may give him a good education. When intellectually one gets fired up by some idea or ideology for the satisfaction of it, he readily ignores and overlooks the comfort and pleasures of his body and the mind. The martyrs and revolutionaries in the world could with pleasure face physical persecution and mental agonies for the satisfaction of their intellectual life and for the fulfillment of their ideas and ideologies. Thus, if an ordinary man is to struggle hard consistently with his mind held in perfect equanimity through his share of pleasure and pains in life, he can successfully do so only to the extent to which he is capable of standing apart from his own physical, mental, and intellectual identification. When a mortal does thus detach himself from his unusual personality layers and from apart watch them as a witness, he is at the moment in the realm of spiritual and therefore becomes fit for the attainment of immortality, the ultimate spiritual goal. I think in this stanza, the most important word is dhira, steady. Steadiness in pain, steadiness in pleasure. And steadiness, I think, can only come when you yourself are steady, and one can be steady if one is attached to something that is steady. Our perception of who we are is constantly changing based on our identification of the body, which grows old over a period of time, constant change. So that changes our mind. Sometimes it's happy, sometimes it's sad. So for us to have steadiness or dhiram, we need to have a steady identification of who we are. Unless we realize that we are the witness, we will, as leaders, constantly be impacted by the outcome of the projects and will not be steady. Sometimes we'll be super happy about some successes and super sad about some failures. This change doesn't provide the solid foundation of steadiness which is needed, because not always will you succeed, not always will you fail. But if you are steady in your identification of who you are and what your mission is, what your goal is, then independent of outside situations, independent of body pains and mental stress, you will be steady and you will achieve the goal. You will get the endurance that you need. So, steady dhiram, realization of who we are, is very important for all leaders. Yam hina vyatayantyete purusham purushashabha samadukha sukham dhiram somrutattvaya kalpate.